For the longest time I was taught to react to criticism, to jealousy, to people underestimating me because of where I come from, how I look, or the boxes they thought I belonged in. But let me tell you something I've learned the hard way, from Bollywood red carpets to Hollywood boardrooms, from heartbreaks to headlines. Never react. Cut them with this one move: success. Pause. Because when you react, you give away your power. When you explain, when you defend, when you clap back, you're wasting precious energy on people who aren't even in the arena with you. And darling, we don't have time for that. Let them talk, let them gossip, let them doubt, while you work, while you rise, while you walk into every room like you were born to be there. I remember being told I wasn't fit for certain roles, that my accent, my background, even my skin tone wouldn't translate. Well, I didn't react. I strategized, I learned, I evolved, I built my brand, and then I let success be the headline. And that's the move I want you to make. When they throw shade, throw light. When they expect you to break build. When they expect you to quit, dominate. You don't need to scream. You don't need to post. You don't need to prove them wrong with words. Prove them wrong with presence. So the next time someone underestimates you, smiles while stabbing you with doubt, or tells you who you can't be, don't react, just cut them with one move: your success, your excellence, your quiet, unstoppable power. Because you are not here to react. You are here to own the room, and darling, you were born for it. In life, especially in high pressure environments or competitive spaces, the instinct to react can be overwhelming. When someone criticizes you, doubts you, or tries to pull you down, the natural human response is to defend yourself, to prove them wrong with words, to respond in real time. But that very reaction can often derail you from your larger purpose. Reacting puts you in a position where you are no longer steering your own narrative, you're simply responding to someone else's. That's where the power of restraint comes in. Not reacting isn't about being passive or weak. It's about being strategic. It's about choosing silence, focus, and long-term vision over temporary satisfaction. Think about it: every time you stop what you're doing to address negativity, you're giving it power. You're letting someone else's opinion occupy space in your mind and heart. That time and mental energy could instead be used to build your craft, refine your skills, and advance your goals. Reacting can feel good in the moment, like you're standing up for yourself, but it rarely leads to progress. Progress comes from consistency, from doing the work when no one is watching, from staying locked in on your path while the world throws distractions your way. Success doesn't come to those who chase every comment or clap back at every insult. It comes to those who stay grounded in who they are, who have the discipline to delay gratification, and who understand that the best way to silence doubt is with undeniable results. When you stop reacting, you begin to build power within yourself. That power becomes visible when you walk into a room, when you speak with purpose, when your actions align with your ambitions. That's what makes people take notice. Not the noise you make, but the results you deliver. This mindset isn't easy. It takes maturity, emotional control, and deep self-belief. It means trusting that your silence doesn't make you invisible, it makes you focused. It means knowing that every second you don't react is another second you're building something bigger. And one day, when your results speak for themselves, the same people who underestimated you won't even deserve a reaction. By then, you'll have outgrown the need to explain, so don't react. Channel that energy inward, invest it in your growth. Let your success be the loudest answer you ever give. There's a certain kind of elegance in letting your achievements speak louder than your words ever could. In a world where everyone is quick to respond, quick to defend, and constantly trying to prove themselves, there's something incredibly powerful about taking a different route, staying quiet, staying focused, and allowing success to do the talking. When you make success your response, you shift the conversation entirely. You no longer need to explain who you are or why you belong. Your results become the undeniable proof. Often when people challenge you, belittle your dreams, or say you're not good enough, they're trying to pull you into a battle of words. But that battle is a trap, because words can be twisted, ignored, or forgotten. Success, on the other hand, is real, it is felt, it is seen, and it cannot be argued with. When you level up in silence and rise beyond their reach, your very presence becomes the answer to every doubt they ever cast on you. Success is not just about money or fame or titles. It's about growth. It's about becoming the version of yourself that they never thought possible. It's about stepping into your power and realizing that proving someone wrong isn't about showing up to argue, it's about showing up and thriving so brilliantly that your existence becomes your response. When you let your achievements speak, you hold on to your dignity, you take the higher road without compromising your strength. You become unbothered, unshaken, and focused on things that truly matter. And let's be honest, nothing silences critics faster than you winning at your own game. They might laugh at your beginnings, but they'll fall silent when your name is on the headline, when your brand is being celebrated, when your work is opening doors. That silence is louder than any argument. It's a kind of poetic justice where your commitment to your purpose becomes your weapon, and your growth becomes your defense. It takes patience to play this game. It takes vision to not respond to every attack. But when you master that calm, when you stop trying to prove and start building, the tables turn. So the next time someone doubts you, don't lower yourself to meet them in the noise. Let your journey answer them, let your resilience echo, let your rise be the speech you never gave, because when success speaks, no one can ignore it, and the best part, you never had to say a word. Doubt is something every dreamer faces. It creeps in through criticism, rejection, and the whispers of people who don't see your vision. But here's the truth. Doubt can either break you or build you, and the choice is entirely yours. When someone tells you that you're not good enough, not ready, or not meant for something bigger, it can hurt. It can sting deeply, especially when it comes from people you respect or even from within yourself. But that very doubt has the potential to become the fuel that drives you harder than anything else. The difference lies in how you choose to respond internally. You can let doubt define your limits, or you can let it challenge you to go beyond them. Every time someone underestimates you, every time you're overlooked or dismissed, there's a spark of energy created. Most people waste it on self, pity or anger, but if you can harness that energy and direct it into your work, your craft, your growth, that's when the magic happens. That's when doubt becomes a stepping stone instead of a wall. Think about the most successful people in the world. Almost every one of them has been doubted by others and by themselves, but they didn't let that stop them. Instead, they let it shape their grit. They let it sharpen their focus. They used it as evidence that they were on a path not everyone could understand. And that's what you need to remember. Your dream doesn't have to be clear to everyone else, it just needs to burn bright enough inside you to survive the doubt. The truth is, people often project their own fears onto you. When they say you can't, it's often because they couldn't, or worse, they never tried. But you're not them. Your journey is your own, and every no, every rejection, every moment someone doubts your ability, that's not the end of your story. It's a page you will one day look back on and say, that was the moment I decided to keep going anyway. Doubt isn't a dead end, it's a signpost. It's life asking you, how badly do you want this? And your job is to answer with action. Let doubt push you to train harder, to study longer, to show up when it's inconvenient. Let it fuel your determination to become so good they can't ignore you. Because when you do that, the very thing meant to stop you becomes the reason you rise. There is a quiet kind of power that comes from truly knowing who you are. It's the kind of presence that doesn't need to be announced or defended. It simply walks into a room and shifts the energy. When you stop trying to prove your worth and instead start embodying it, something changes. You move differently, you speak with intention, you don't beg for validation because you've already given it to yourself. That's the difference between performing confidence and living it. We live in a world that constantly pressures us to explain ourselves, our choices, our paths, our dreams. And while some conversations are necessary, not everything deserves a response. You don't owe everyone an explanation for your ambition. You don't have to prove why you belong. You belong because you've worked for it, prepared for it, and shown up for yourself time and time again. That's enough, and the more you step into that truth, the less you'll feel the need to prove anything. Presence is built in the moments no one sees, the early mornings, the late nights, the internal battles you fight and win quietly. It's in the way you carry yourself after a loss, in how you treat people when no one's watching, and in how you handle success without arrogance. Presence comes from a grounded place, from knowing your worth so deeply that it radiates without words. When you walk into a room with presence, people feel it. You don't have to say, "I'm here and I'm important." Your energy says it for you, and that energy is cultivated through self-respect, discipline, and clarity of purpose. It doesn't mean you're the loudest or the flashiest. In fact, some of the most powerful people walk in with quiet confidence. They don't need to dominate, they influence by simply being aligned with themselves. Trying to prove yourself to others can be exhausting, and it often leads to losing touch with who you truly are. But when you stop chasing approval and focus on becoming your best self intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, you naturally start to own your space. And in doing that, you give others permission to do the same, so don't waste your energy trying to be seen. Show up in the fullness of who you are, and the right people will recognize it. You don't need a spotlight to shine. You just need to stand in your truth. That's the kind of presence that can't be ignored and doesn't need to be explained. Criticism is one of the most unavoidable parts of growth. The moment you decide to step out of the ordinary, people will have opinions. Some will be constructive, others will be harsh, and many won't be based on facts at all. But the way you respond to that criticism defines whether you evolve or stay stuck. It's tempting to take it personally, to feel hurt, or to shut down altogether. But if you learn how to filter it, take what's useful and discard what isn't, you'll find that criticism can be one of your greatest teachers. The key is in your mindset. When someone points out a flaw or questions your ability, it can trigger defensiveness. But behind every critique, there may be a thread of truth worth exploring. Growth begins when you can look at feedback not as an attack, but as an opportunity to improve. It doesn't mean you have to agree with everything you hear. It means you're open enough to listen, reflect, and adjust where necessary, not because someone told you to, but because you're committed to being better. No one gets it perfect the first time. Every successful person has had moments of doubt and failure, often made visible by people who weren't afraid to point out their shortcomings. But those same moments became turning points because they chose to evolve rather than give up. They used criticism not as confirmation of their limits, but as a catalyst to break through them. That takes humility, it takes courage, and above all, it takes the willingness to be honest with yourself. The beautiful thing about growth is that it's not always loud or visible. Sometimes it happens quietly in your own time, when you sit with uncomfortable truths and make the decision to shift. Maybe you work harder. Maybe you adjust your strategy. Maybe you build skills you were once missing. Over time, those small, private improvements become massive public progress. You don't have to react to every comment. You don't have to defend every choice. What you do need to do is stay committed to your evolution. Criticism will come whether you succeed or fail, but the way you handle it can set you apart. Let it refine you, not define you. Take what strengthens you, leave the rest behind, and keep moving forward. Because the most powerful response to any critique is not a reaction. It's your transformation. Let them see you improve. Let them see you rise. That's growth. That's strength. Power doesn't always have to be loud. In fact, some of the most powerful people in the world are those who move with quiet certainty. They don't shout about their goals. They don't constantly seek approval. And they don't need to be seen in every moment. Instead, they work consistently, they show up prepared, and they let the results speak on their behalf. That kind of quiet power is built over time through discipline, self-respect, and focus. It's not performative. It's real, and that's why it's so impactful. There's a misconception that to be successful or influential, you have to be the loudest person in the room. But presence isn't about volume, it's about energy. It's about being so aligned with who you are that people feel it when you walk in. When you know your value, you don't have to prove it constantly. You don't need to boast, argue, or convince others. You simply lead with action, with intention, and with authenticity. Owning your power quietly means understanding that validation is an inside job. You don't need constant reassurance when you've done the work and you believe in what you're building. It allows you to move with confidence even when no one's clapping. It frees you from the need to perform for approval because your sense of purpose comes from within. And in that space, you become unstoppable. This kind of power doesn't mean you don't feel fear or doubt. It means you don't let those emotions control you. It means you acknowledge them, but you keep moving forward anyway. That resilience, that steady pursuit of growth, is what sets you apart. You don't need to announce every step you take. You don't need to broadcast your progress. You just keep building, and eventually the world takes notice. There's a certain grace in not needing to respond to every challenge or every attack. Not everything deserves your energy. When you're grounded in who you are, you become selective with your time and focus. You don't react emotionally to distractions, you move with clarity. That's where your real power lies, not in proving others wrong with words, but in showing them with your excellence. So own your space. Walk into rooms like you belong, even if no one tells you that you do. You don't have to be the loudest to be the strongest. Quiet power is still power, and often it's the kind that lasts the longest and leaves the deepest impact. Thank you.